Dr. Karen Mikowski. I'm the leading parapsychology and paranormal investigator in any of my cases. Now today I'm going to be discussing energy, active energy that can get active in the physicality. So a lot of people, I'm going to discuss two videos with two parts, but I'm going to discuss two cases I sort of had to deal with in regards to me that are my most memorable when it comes to active ghosts that can, energy that can interact physically. Now it's very rare, so let's start with that. Energy that can interact physically is still quite rare in the population who deals with this. I would still say it's only around 7% of energy that can literally physically interact with people's. The reason for that, for me, my theory on this is because it has to be, it's over time. Energy, like I say, energy doesn't die, it just moves to a different location. Now, I work with a lot of energy on 4D, which is that dimensional space between 3D and 5D. 4D, I will do a separate video on 4D at some point. But 4D for me is where I transition a lot of souls as a minister. I work on cold cases, so I work with the victims on 4D. I'll connect with the victims. And it's usually a darker space. It's like a dark space. It's not hell or anything like that. I don't really believe in hell. But it's like a dark space. So, and it's like, but there is a lot of energy there. Now, that's the dimensional area where a lot of energy will sort of gravitate towards people, us, alive, not so you have like human spirit, you have a human energy and like inhuman spirits or inhuman energy. I don't really like to call them spirits, I call them energy. But regardless, for me, I find, I've been dealing with energy since I was a child. I just have. That's it. I'm not gonna get into that, but I have a lifetime's experience of working with energy, interacting with energy. But it's very rare in all that time. I've only ever really been physically attacked once. So that's what I'm saying. It's quite rare to have an interaction on a physical interaction with energy. Now, people might regard this sort of stuff as like poltergeist, but that's incorrect, because poltergeist doesn't mean they're physical or they're going to interact physically. Poltergeist means noisy spirits, noisy ghosts, noisy energy, whatever you want to call them. It's just a noisy energy, noisy spirits. So, but they can, again, depending on how old that energy is, and for me it's a time thing. So over time that energy can get stronger and it can interact more. I don't feel, understanding what I understand and know, I don't feel like you can pass away tomorrow and be strong enough to interact physically the next day. No, I just don't buy that. So, again, because I've been working with and dealing with energy since I was a child, I've never experienced that. Now, if that was a normal thing, it would have happened to me a lot, but it hasn't. What I experienced I had a physical interaction. More so, I was pushed down some stairs. Yeah, I know for me, I'm not one of these people that fears energy. First of all, when you're going to go into my field, or you're going to start interacting with energy, you've got to be self-possessed. You can't be fearing energy. So I don't watch all this reality crap. That's reality TV crap, Paranormal Investigation. No. That's embarrassing. For a parapsychologist and a paranormal investigator like me, that's embarrassing to watch that crap. When those people are running around screaming like, ah, and running out and running away from the energy, they should be out of that field. They don't belong there. That's embarrassing. When you really understand energy and you work with it and you do what I do, you run towards it. You don't run away from it. You don't fear it. So I don't watch that crap because it's embarrassing. And it's fake anyway, so just let's not. I'm not going to go there. But that's my personal opinion on it. And my professional opinion on it. It's embarrassing to watch that. If you're not self-possessed, get out of this field. It's not for you. So it was, yeah, like I said, 12/12. 2012, I was staying with a friend in Iowa. This little town called Boone. Ooh la la. I didn't know anything about Boone town. I didn't know anything about this area. And again, because I'm interacting with energy, I remember pulling up to her house and feeling like, ew. So I knew instantly, like, I don't like the feel of this house. Now, I'm going to be discussing 2 incidents I had at this house, but they're going to be 2 parts, because this one's called the push. Part 2 is called the police call out. So there's actual evidence and documentation of my interactions with energy. It's really embarrassing. Well, yeah, back then I was like quite embarrassed, but looking back now, it's like, well, I'm kind of glad I called the cops, and I'm kind of glad I went to the hospital too, because there's still, I'm not embarrassed by it. I just didn't realize this small little town had a lot of energy. So I didn't know this, but anyway, like I say, I was staying here for a while, and I felt really uneasy, like, I don't like the feeling of this house. There's something very wrong. I don't like it. And I don't fear energy anyway, but I just didn't like the feeling of the energy. It felt quite strong. And then I realized, I felt like, okay, I feel like this is a sort of energy that could alter your moods, alter your personalities. And I even said to my friend, I said, do your children live here? And she explained, no, they just come at weekends. I'm like, oh, thank God for that, because this energy felt so really negative that I would not want to raise my children in energy like this, in a home like this. There was something off about it. So a few weeks into living there, I felt like I was constantly, like, obviously being watched. I'm thinking, okay, here we go, we've got energy at this one. Hello. Now, at first I didn't tell my friend, because I didn't want to scare her, say, hey, your house is haunted and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. That causes fear. But I did say to her things like, oh, your house feels very, she went, oh yeah, it's haunted, isn't it? Like that. I went, yeah. So I kind of let her sort of tell me what she thought. And she was like, oh yeah, we just kind of live with it. I'm like, okay, please, okay, well, maybe don't have your children here for too much, because, again, children are more susceptible to energy. And this energy didn't feel like you should have your children around this energy, especially when your kids are going through adolescence and things like this. But she was quite humorous with it. So I was like, okay, well, so we understand each other, that I connect to energy. And she's like, oh yeah, it's normal here. I'm like, okay, great. So I didn't have to feel like I had to hide anything. Now, I didn't realize how interactive it was, and how strong it was, basically powerful, I guess. But until she went to work one day, and I remember this particular morning, I was getting ready, and I felt like, oh God, seriously, I get it, I can feel you, I can sense you around me. I wasn't tapping in because I didn't want to communicate with it. I just didn't want to interact with it. And I have the ability to just turn that off and turn it on when I need to anyway. But I didn't want to interact with it because something felt off with it, and I just didn't like the feeling. So I just didn't pay any attention, which was probably pissing off the energy. So I remember this particular morning, I was coming down her stairs, and you sort of go down like 4 steps, and then you come around a little bit, and then you come down the remainder. And as I come around the first set of stairs, as I got to the top, it was just like, it pissed me off, I won't lie. When it comes to energy like this, I don't take any shit from energy at all. I don't, verbally or whatever. But before I even had a chance to grab the banister, I felt like I'd been pushed, and I just went, woo, all the way down the stairs. And I grabbed the banister at the last minute, but it was the way I landed. So I was able to break my fall, but the way I landed, I broke my wrist. I'm like, mother. I wasn't afraid, again, because I understand energy. But I just remember switching on, looking up at the stairs and going, you've got 4 days to get out of this house, because when I get back from the hospital, I'm going to town and I'm going to do some serious cleansing, and you're done. You've just broken the universal laws and you've crossed the line. And energy understands that. So I didn't realise there was possibility that I was dealing with an inhuman energy that's never lived a human life. So if it was inhuman, it just didn't give a shit, basically. But that was my warning to it. So I called my friend and said, hey, can I borrow your truck? Because I need to go to the ER. She's like, yeah, what's happened? And I said, I'm not quite sure what's in your home, but it just pushed me down the stairs, shoved me down the stairs, literally. And I think my wrist is fractured, so I need to go to the ER. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she's apologised. It's not her fault, obviously. I said, I just need to go to the ER. I just wanted to let you know what was going on. So I went to the ER, and I remember sat there waiting, and the doctor said, so what have you done? And I said, well, would you like the truth, or would you like me to lie to you? And he said, the truth. So I said, well, you know, I'm staying at my friend's house, and I got shoved down the stairs by some energy, and I don't really know if you believe in this, but I got pushed down the stairs anyway. And he was just like, oh, that's normal around here. Oh, that's normal. I'm like, what now? So, apparently, this little town called Boone in Iowa is very interactive with energy, and apparently a lot of people end up in hospital. That's fucked up, right? That's not normal. So I was like, okay, well, just, you know, do what you need to do, put in a cast, whatever, and then we'll stick it in a sling. And okay, then I guess I've got to go back to that house and do what I do. That's some serious cleansing. Oh God. So having that interaction with a doctor and just like very like blasé, like, oh yeah, it's normal around here. I was like, wow. Just like that. Okay then. So, because, you know, the idea of telling somebody in this day and age that I got shoved down the flight of stairs by a spirit, right, or a ghost or energy, whatever, people are going to think you're crazy. Well, I don't give a fuck what people think about me anyway, whether they think I'm crazy or not. I just don't care. And I'm never going to apologise or excuse. Are you joking, right? No. In this day and age, it's just not going to happen anymore. When you look at the state of society and look at the state of their psychologists today, in normal life, everyday conditioning, there's something fundamentally wrong with that, and they have a problem with people like me. I don't think so. So no, I don't care what people think anymore. Not this day and age. But there's still that stigma. So I didn't care about the stigma either. I just wasn't sure if I should tell the doctor the truth or tell a little white lie and go, I fell down the stairs, but it seemed like a normal thing. So the next 4 days, I literally spent so much energy doing what I do, smudging, serious cleansing. And then after about 4 days, the house felt really light, like, oh wow, the atmosphere is sort of calmed down. It feels very, it feels different, it feels lighter, and I had a really good night's sleep. So, and I really did not like going in that woman's basement, by the way. Even when the tornado came through the street, we had to go into the basement. Thank God I was high as a kite on pain medication for my wrist, because I was just like giggling and laughing, and you know, that's how I have a nervous laugh. So when I'm dealing with fear, I'll start laughing. That's my coping mechanism. It is a nervous laugh, but I remember again this night I had to go to the hospital. That same night at 1 o'clock in the morning, my friend is waking me up going, we got a tornado, Karen, we got a tornado, you got to get to the basement. Excuse my American accent, it's terrible. But so I'm like, oh God, what's going on? Picking up our little chihuahua dogs and trying, you know, I'm high as a kite from this medication and trying to get into the basement, and I can hear a freaking freight train going through the street. I'm like, what is that? And she's like, it's a tornado. And I'm like, oh my God, cool. So, you know, I'm not quite thinking properly. I'm not, you know, I'm just not thinking rationally. So I kind of, you know, go to the back door, and that was it. I was like, oh God, no, I can't go out there. And I ended up in the basement. Even in the basement, I'm thinking, oh God, I'd rather be up there with a tornado than down here with this energy. So that was the same night it happened, that same day. And I hadn't started cleansing or smudging because I was still like in a lot of pain. So while this tornado was rolling through the bloody street and my friends, you know, sort of freaking out from the tornado, that's not what, I was just like, oh God, I've got to deal with this fucking energy. got to deal with this energy. I don't like it, especially down here in the basement. It was just really weird, and I got these little cute dogs, and so next day, pissed off. And I just did what I did, went to town and everything. But again, like I said, after 4 days, the atmosphere felt really calm and everything, and a lot lighter. So again, I was able to sleep a little bit better. And then I had a good night's sleep, but the next day, it just felt like something was off again. Like, what the... Here we go again. So, anyway, the energy was back. I wasn't able to sort of get rid of this energy, and I just felt like it was a little bit like I pissed it off, and because I didn't really know exactly what I was dealing with, because I had no interest in interacting with energy, finding out what the story is or what its problem is after it just threw me down the freaking stairs. That's not going to happen. Again, when you understand universal laws, and there's like lines when it comes to energy, whether you just don't. No. I just don't give. I don't entertain that, and it's clearly very negative. So I had no time for it. Now, my friend, let's go forward 2 weeks later after this. A different situation happened, but I'm going to discuss that in the police call out. But I literally pissed off this energy, and I didn't realize just how much I'd annoyed it, and again until like a couple of weeks later. But I just didn't, there was just something, like I remember feeling like when our children would visit, like for the weekend, first they're coming really happy. Now this is where I didn't like the energy, because within an hour or two of the kids being there, the moods changed. They became annoying, aggressive, they became argumentative. It was almost like the mood had them, like they couldn't control the mood or how they were feeling. It's like it had all of them in it, and I was like, oh God, I really got to get rid of this energy. This is really nasty energy. Nothing ever flew across the room or anything like that. I never saw anything flying. What I did find was I was very aware that this friend of mine was affecting her. I guess when you have an addictive personalities, like whether you're addicted, you get addicted to drugs or gambling or anything like that. If you have a very addictive personality, when you're dealing with energy and that attaches to you, that's going to multiply and really enhance your addictions. Now I knew she liked to go to the casino and gamble and everything, because like I said, I've been with her a few times, and I get bored of that. I like a little flutter, but it was just weird, like, okay, this, talk about spending hours and hours on these like machines, and I'm like, this is just fucking boring. And I couldn't understand the addiction or fascination of this level of gambling anyway. There was nothing about these machines that were going, play me, right? So I guess because I don't have an addictive personality, I couldn't understand why this incessant need to really just, excuse me, just be so, fixated on it. The idea of getting out of that house as much as possible, absolutely understand that. But there's other things I could have, there's many things you can do about, to get out of the house and not spend a little time there without going to the casino and wasting thousands of dollars. That's basically what it was like. And I remember saying to my friend, wow, you really like the casino? And she's like, oh my God, I love it. I always win. I'm like, you haven't won since I've been coming to the casino with you. I've seen you win, but I've seen you put it all back. So it turned out, I started to get this feeling like this energy was definitely connected to her. It's like really, it attached itself to her. And it was enhancing her addictive personality. And she was a little bit very secretive. And you always know when someone's got an addiction anyway, because the moment you question it, they become either secretive or aggressive. There's no, oh, you're wrong and they're right and everything and they don't have a problem. But you know the signs. So I said, hey, you know, good Lord, basically. It was like, yeah. No, that's when I realised the secrecy was coming up, because I remember one day her husband was coming home on leave from Iraq, and she gave me this carrier bag full of, plastic bag full of bills, and I'm like, what is this? She went, hide it under your bed. I'm like, what? Why? She's like, oh, they're just visa bills and things like this. And I'm like, okay, what the hell, girl? And she's like, yeah, well, you know, I like to go to the casino. And I'm like, okay, but so basically she was feeding she would get credit cards to feed the gambling addiction. I'm like, okay, you know, I can't help you with this situation. This is something, I can't be hiding your bills. I can't. Good Lord, please, I hope to God your husband doesn't ask me anything, because I can't lie. And I don't want to lie, but it was very awkward, put it that way. But regardless of that, when I realised how intense and strong this energy was in her house, I realised immediately it was not only, again, attached to her, but it was influencing her a little bit, but because you can't, it's not something, you can't say energy's going to control you, because you still know right from wrong, and you can still control your decisions and your decision making. You can still say yes or no. You can still, you still know what you're doing. But can energy, powerful energy like this, intense energy, gravitate towards your low vibrational behaviour? And if you're very low vibrational and you've got these addictive personalities, you're going to naturally be a low vibrational energy, because that's where these addictions are. They come from. So energy like that is naturally going to gravitate to low vibrational energy, and it's just going to attach and stay there. And it hated me. It did not want me in this house, because I was very high vibrational, and I was trying to get rid of it, and it didn't want that. So the energy it was feeding off was from her. And as this energy was getting stronger, but again, you're talking about timed, aged energy. Like, I realised later on that it was like from the 1800s, which kind of makes sense, right? And I also found out after the fact that that house was full of multiple energies. Like, there was probably at least 6 that I was dealing with, so there's no way I could fix that house anyway. But not to mention the fact that her energy, her low vibrational energy, and who and what she was enticing this energy. It was very bizarre. But it did influence her to the point where it fed one of her addictions. And there was many addictions she had, but that was the most prevalent one that I saw. I literally saw the mood change, like her demeanour would change, her thought process would change. Like, you could have a normal conversation one minute, and then I felt like I was completely talking to a completely different person. Like, hello. So I knew this energy was attaching to her. So, but again, you don't need to. You really don't need to fear energy, because remember, your energy, it's just energy. Energy was human at one point, and now it's just not. It's just moved to a different frequency, a different location, that's all. You just can't see it. But if you were to sort of drop the veil, you'd see it. It just moves to a different location. But it's hard to explain to people, because again, there's so many belief systems and religious aspects, all sorts of conditionings and things like this, and that make it very hard to try and explain to people that you don't need to fear it. If you're fearing it, it's because you've been conditioned to fear it, because you've been watching too many scary movies and things like this, and watching too much crap on the internet. So that was my sort of interaction with an active energy that was strong enough and old enough to make its presence known, that it doesn't want me there, first of all. And secondly, it was strong enough to push me down the stairs and break my arm. It's not funny. But looking back, it's like, oh, and I went to town on that house. But again, it's because it's very rare. It's not something that happens all the time. It's a rare occurrences. They are very sporadic. I mean, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but thankfully, I mean, I'm not surprised. I was clearly meant to be. I don't go anywhere unless I'm meant to be somewhere. I've known that about my life too. I always get sent, and there's a reason, because if it was strong enough to do that to me, it would have been strong enough to do that to children, and that's not. I don't. No. I don't like that kind of crap. So I sort of put a stop to that, but that didn't mean the energy was going to disappear or leave or anything like that. It's just there are, like I say, universal laws and things like this, and these energies did literally cross those lines, so they're done anyway. They're not going anywhere good, put it that way, if that's what they're expecting. They're never going to get transitioned, not by somebody like me. But you don't want them interacting with people like that, because they're just very strong. But again, it's just that whole town was just very active, very energetically active, which is very strange and very weird. I mean, I'll probably go back to that town at some point, just to sort of, show my face again and, freak the energy out. But I'll go there a lot stronger now, with a hell of a lot more, more of me and what I do, and But again, it's hard to know what the root of that is. Why? My questions are, why is that energy so strong there? I mean, there's just something there to have such a high accumulation of energy that's able to interact physically, which is very strange. That's not normal. So that alone just needs to be investigated more. But I was never going to go back there until I knew I was, one, strong enough, and two, really not in a rush to have another burn broken either. So, but yeah, that was my sort of experience at the push. But does it stop me from doing what I do? Did it scare me? Absolutely not. It made me more determined. So, if you are experiencing anything like this, you can reach out to, like I say, you don't necessarily need to go straight to the church. Most of the time, it's hard to get sort of that that help anyway. But there are many avenues and many ways you can go. Excuse me. Here we go. There's many things you can do, and there's many different types of people you can reach out to. I mean, you can call a medium. I mean, there's some amazing people out there with medium abilities, amazing abilities, that they can interact and connect with the energies, find out what's going on. There's many people like that. I mean, don't get scammed, and don't, try and do your research. But otherwise, if you can't find a paranormal investigator, then are you dealing with something very strange, and an investigator can't help either, then you call a parapsychologist like me. There's not a lot of parapsychologists in the world, unfortunately, but we are there, and we understand a lot more. We do a lot more. We can deal with a lot more. We can answer a lot more questions, and it's just what we do. So there's ways of reaching out to us, but my message is, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of energy. It might just be a little bit interactive. It might just be a bit noisy. But that doesn't mean it's going to hurt you. Just, if you want to, you can probably tap into the energy yourself and just, do some meditation, really, become really quiet, and just let your clairaudience ability just sort of work, connect. You might actually hear the energy communicate with you, and then ask the questions. What do you want? How can I help? Why are you here? You might find you're getting the answers, but you will have to go into that quiet, and you can't be afraid. You're going to have to take real self-possession, not fear that. But yeah, you might just actually hear the answer. There's many ways you can help. There's many ways you can help yourself as well as helping energy. But again, that's not for everybody, unfortunately. So, but again, that doesn't mean you can't reach out to people like us. So. Other than that, don't fear it. It's you don't need to fear energy. You need to fear humans and the physicality more than you need to. You've got more chance of getting hurt by a person than you're ever going to have get hurt by energy. Just trust me on that. You might want to look who's in your life, who's quite possibly hurt you in very bad ways, than you ever need to be worrying about energy hurting you. So that's the, unfortunately, that's the reality of life. Other than that, I will see you in part 2 for the police call out in Boone Town, Iowa.